So, when you break down, there's more than just the breakdown. What does it really cost? Well, I'm fixing to tell you what it really cost me. I've made it no secret that my truck broke down and we put a new engine in it and everything. So what did it actually cost? Well, the amount of repairs at the dealer or Cummings, that's just a small part of it. Well, it's a part of it. It really wasn't small, and we'll get to that number at the end. But there's all sorts of extraneous stuff that happens that people don't think about. And those are the things that I'm going to be concentrating at all. So I broke down on the road. So I think that's a good place to start. We'll start there, because the moment I had to find an alternative for the load, that's when the clock started ticking. So let's start with that. Now, I'm going to tell you what the load, I'm not going to tell you exact numbers because I don't reveal company prices like that. But on the low side, the load was paid me over $3,500 to go to Oakland, California, which is what I was doing. Not bad for a couple days worth of work. I made it to Laramie. So that right there, it got cut into thirds. So I lost about $2,800 on that. I got paid to Laramie, but after that, I lost that. I swapped out and I got a load from another guy that was coming through to go back up to Sioux Falls, and I got paid for that, but I lost a lot of money on that. So we're gonna start the running tally at, where's my pin? At about 2,800. So I'll get my notebook out. All right, 28. So then once we get to Sioux Falls, I'm missing work. So you can figure out what your daily rate usually is. And on the low side, it's about 700 to 1,000 a day. So let's just go with 700. I sat there for 3 days. So on top of that, I lost another $2,000 worth of work. So, but the $2,000. Now, don't get me wrong, these are gross numbers. Once you add fuel and all that, they drop quite significantly. But we're just going with gross here. So, truck breaks down, make it back to Sioux Falls. I'm already down $4,800. But wait, there's more. So the truck's in the shop, getting diagnosed. Spent 3 days in a hotel room. That was about $210. So actually altogether it was about 300 bucks for hotels total. So you got 300 bucks, but you still got to eat. And if there's a bar next door, well, we'll not go there. I'm not going to count that. And if memory serves me right, there was a slot machine. Anyhow, so we'll just leave that at about, maybe 100 bucks for food. Write the 100 down. On top of the $300 for the hotel bill, you're already at $400. All right, so we end up spending $400 for those 3 days sitting there. Mind you, I walked everywhere. I didn't get an Uber. That's what that cost me. So, we're at $400, and I don't even know what's wrong with the truck yet. So, after about 3 days, I make the executive decision to do what we did, because, as I've said in my other videos, it was going to cost several $1,000s just to tear the engine down to find out if it could be rebuilt. I got to pay for that labor. I'm not willing to do that, because I could spend the money, tear it down, find out the engine's completely blown out, and then have to pay that on top of what I'm already paying. So, little hint, sometimes you got to take the high road. It's more expensive now, but it might save you down the road. That's for another video. So, we are at, let's see, we were at 4,800. Now we're at 5,200. It's adding up. So now I work out a deal. I realize the truck's going to be down for a few weeks. I'm not sure how long. I work out a deal with the company, say I'd like to rent one of your trucks. Do you have one? Absolutely, they had one. We already went over that. So it was a nice truck. It was a 2017, 2018. It said 617, but I think those are the 18s. It's not important. Nice truck. I'm not going to tell you the daily or weekly range. Those are something I can't share with you. But I got charged that plus mileage. And there's a daily rate, there's a weekly rate, and there's a mileage rate. So I'm getting paid, or I'm having to pay mileage on that. So I had that for 7 weeks, and they actually gave me a week. There was some trouble that had with the truck. It had to go back in the shop for some service, and they were really decent about it. Like, you know what, we'll eat this week, and it was all good. So 7 weeks. So I actually got a discount on that. That was $3,510.10. But wait, there's mileage. You got to pay all the mileage on these trucks because, hey, it's a rental. According to my math, or what I was billed at, we can go either way on that. It could be a combination of both. I did a little over 16,000 miles in this truck in the 7 weeks I had it. Not bad. Seems I could have been higher. I did take a little time off. Needed to. But the mileage ran $2,722.38. I got a really good mileage rate. I got cheaper than most. If you rent a truck or you lease a truck and they have a mileage, usually it's closer to a quarter to 30 cents a mile is what you get charged. So that $2,700 is going to be more like 32. Something to remember. So with all that, all together, what I paid for in basically 6 weeks worth of driving this truck, $6,232.48 altogether. That was just the lease. That doesn't count everything else. So there was more. And because, well, there's certain rules and obligations that go along with leasing a truck. Now, mind you, well, we'll get to that in a minute. So let's talk about what else was there. So what else was there? Well, I had to spend an additional $314.43 because when you get the truck, chances are it's going to be full of DEF and full of diesel fuel. When you return the truck, it needs to be full of DEF and full of diesel fuel. That's in the contract. So I had to spend that money to, you know, when I return the truck, because if they have to go fill it, they're going to charge me for the diesel plus the service charge and whatever else. After all, it's a rental. Rentals do that. So we're up to we're up to a significant amount right now. But that's not where it ends, because I was home. Well, I wasn't home. I sat there and turned the truck in and still had to wait another basically day and a half, 2 days, because they kept jerking me around on the truck. So we can figure we lost another $1,000 on top of that. So we'll add with the lost revenue, we'll just add another $1,000 in. Because, well, That's what their non-communication. Now, this wasn't my company. This was the company that was working on the truck. They were not communicating with me about the truck. They told me the truck was supposed to be done a week prior, and suddenly it wasn't. And I took the time. The first time went up to Sioux Falls, thought the truck was done. It wasn't done. Went and did another round, came back, told me the truck was done. I turned the rental truck in, and then had to sit there another day waiting on my truck, which thankfully was done on a Friday. So there's something else to think about there. Now, another thing that is probably not crossed a lot of people's minds was, well, I'm renting a truck and doing all that, but I still own a truck. There's still insurance coming out every week on that truck. There's still a truck payment coming out on that truck. And altogether, that downtime with the payment, insurance, and all that, you can probably figure in, it cost me, oh, let's just add it. It's, I'll be conservative. I'll say it was another 1,800 bucks. Now, if you've noticed one thing, we've talked a lot of numbers. We haven't even gotten to what the repair costs yet. So, that ought to tell you something. This is why I always preach, you need money that you can sit on. Because that little nest egg that you're sitting on not spending pays for things like this. All the extraneous stuff nobody thinks about. So, let me really quick add up all of this here that I'm sure I'm missing something. And I'm sure, despite the fact that I added up, the number's going to be quite significant. And then I'm going to tell you the actual number of what this truck cost. And then I'll tell you why it costs so much. So let me get this added up. Be back in a flash. Now, mind you, I knew it was expensive. This is actually the first time I've really sat here. I was going to do it later when I got home anyways and do the math. I knew it was high. But when your hand starts shaking on the calculator, you're like, you know what, we probably ought to stop there. So, you're going to be surprised at what this actually cost. This is all the extraneous stuff. This has nothing to do with the actual repair. The breakdown alone, and now mind you, this is $6,200 worth of rental stuff too. Remember that. But the actual repair was, or the actual cost of the breakdown minus the repair was $14,546.91. And you could probably add another grand on there somewhere in there. So we're going to say roughly it was around $15,000, give or take. That is why I always tell you guys, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record, you got to have money. Now, if I hadn't done the rental truck, it still would have been about 7,500 bucks. But who wants to sit home for 7 weeks waiting on a truck? I did make money. I did make a good chunk of this back, and I did with the rental truck. But you also have to figure, like I said, I mean, oh wait. What did I? Oh yeah, I added that in. Yeah, you got to figure in everything else. Like I said, you got your truck payment, your insurance. You have all your regular bills, plus you have all this extraneous stuff. This is why I always keep saying, you need money. You need money to sit on, and you need to add to that money every week. The weeks that are good, add a little more. That way, when the weeks that are bad, you got a little more. But can you afford to sit around to save $6,000 when the cost is going to cost you $7,000 to sit around? Most people can't. $7,000 over 7 weeks, that's $1,000 a week. So you're going to make that up with the rental truck. Now, the nice thing about the rental truck was the fuel mileage, and where I did lose it on my truck, the rental truck got phenomenal mileage, and I did save a bunch of money on mileage. That's where I made up a lot of my difference. But your results will vary. So let's get to the final number. So the final number. This kind of hurts to even say it out loud. Now, mind you, we got the engine put in. There was some check engine lights, and they had to do some other repairs because they're not going to release the truck with a check engine light. And it was part of the emission system. They went ahead and fixed it. I didn't mind. I don't know what this meathead next to me is doing. He's been idling all over the parking lot for the last 4 hours at 5 miles an hour. Okay, yeah, numbers. The total cost of the repair out the door was $50,629.81. I know a lot of you right now are absolutely just certain I got ripped off. It was $39,000 for the engine itself. There was labor, there was taxes, and then there was the other repairs that went along with it. If had this been 2 or 3 years ago, this would have never even crossed my mind. But the reason I did it was because the used trucks right now are insane. The new trucks are about 2 years out right now. And if I want to stay an owner-operator, this is the way I do it. Now I know a lot of you guys think, well, I can find trucks. Yes, I can find trucks. But are they worth the money? Are they worth, how much am I going to have to pay? A lot of times if I put them on at this company, they have to be a certain year old, or they have to meet certain standards for e-logs and things of that nature. I mean, there's a lot to think about. But yeah, 2 years ago, I never would have entertained this. But believe it or not, in this market, this is the most economical way to do this. And truthfully, I thought about just selling the truck to the dealer. I only owed $3,000 on it at the time, and I thought about just selling the truck to the dealer, going to being a company driver, and just saving my money for a while. And I was like, no, that's just going to be a step or two back. I don't want to do that. So yeah, the price of engines has gone up. I priced one out 2 years ago at Cummins, and it's gone up about $8,000. You know, labor. The reason I did it where I did it was the company I'm leased onto gets a tremendous rate on labor. They get a great labor rate, and I got the great labor rate with them. But you add everything else in, and it does get quite pricey. So you can figure out with the breakdown and everything, this cost me around $65,000 all in. And I've already explained to you why I just didn't buy a new truck. You can't even buy a used truck right now for $65,000. You can, but they're completely shagged, and I'd end up doing what I just did to the new truck. So you just I don't even want to deal with that right now. Now, I'm sure everybody has a comment, or I could have got it done cheaper, better, whatever. Well, if you could, good for you. The fact of the matter is, I had to find out what worked for me. It's like my videos talk. This worked for me. It's a little depressing, don't get me wrong. Nobody wants to spend this kind of money, especially on what I spent it on. It sucked. And trust me, if you don't believe me, go out there and try to order a new truck right now. It's going to be 18 months. Go look at used trucks. They've gone up 80%. Literally 80%. If you can find a good deal on a good used truck, take it to a mechanic, and you're going to be 15 grand deep into getting it DOT legal. It's just, things are nuts right now. I have been truck shopping for the last 2 years. There's a lot of it I haven't done online or made films about, just trying to locate something. I knew something like this would eventually happen. All the signs were there. And I ended up I wasn't quick enough. I couldn't find it. Didn't happen. So I had to do what I had to do. I was not interested in being a company driver because that meant I'd be taking a step back. I didn't do this much blood, sweat, tears, and saving and scrimping and all this planning and all that to turn around and be a company driver because I had a setback. It cost me some money. Everything costs you money. But economically, as ridiculous as it sounds, this was the best thing to do. It was the best thing to do for me. And like I say on this channel all the time, take everything with a grain of salt and find what works for you. Because what I did may not work. But I told you I'd share you all the numbers. There were some significant numbers. And I'm going to be working for another couple of years to get back to where I was. Maybe a year. I don't know. Depends on how fast I scrimp and save. But if you're going to be in this business, things like this are going to happen. And sometimes you just don't have a choice. I mean, yeah, I had a choice, but all the options sucked. Sometimes there are no good options. Sometimes you just have to weigh the options and find out what's going to be good for you a year from now. It's rarely about what's good for you at the moment. Remember that, because at the moment is gone the next moment. Look down the road a year or two and say, hey, this may be what I need to do. You know? So, anyhow, those were the numbers. They were quite high. So, I hope this helps y'all. Just remember, if you break down, this kind of stuff happens. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Y'all be safe out there, and we'll see you next video.